So one of the things that I think I've heard a lot of, at least in my comment sections, when it comes to topics people want me to talk about, I think there's just been a general ask for, persona advice. And to that, I'm like, I don't know if I'm like the best person for advice on this, because I think I've already explained the history of my persona, the creature, and how exactly that thing came into existence. But funnily enough, next month will technically be the anniversary of my creation of the creature. So for those who are not in the know or didn't watch like the special where I explained it, the creature I essentially created accidentally, kind of ish, not really. I don't think I intended it to be a persona of mine, and then I couldn't stop drawing it like the entire flight, so it kind of accidentally cemented itself as my persona. And yeah, I think it's been a very important part of creating like a recognizable mascot, and I'm very surprised people like it as much as they do, just because I felt like the design was so rudimentary that I wasn't really sure. But I think it has a lot of components that make people like it. So here's why I think people like it, kind of, because it's very simple. It does its job, as a cute little mascot for my channel and everything. And I think it's also very recognizable. People, especially like my mutuals or people I know, are able to recognize when my video shows up on their pages, where they're like, oh, is this your channel? It's because my persona is just kind of like plastered on all of my art stuff. So when people see it, they're like, yeah, that's Mur's persona, guys. A lot of the things that I consider important when it comes to a persona design are also kind of semi-applicable to when it comes to, creating a art account or just an account in general. So I've talked about this, I think, a little bit on Tumblr for that. There are some important things to remember that at least were applicable to me, and I think are important to some degree when it comes to creating a persona. However, do keep in mind that this is not a one-size-fits-all situation. I do keep in mind all of these components because I want my character to be recognizable to some degree and to essentially be a persona for that purpose. So obviously, if this is a persona for yourself, invigorate all of the things you like into that persona. So, not everything is going to be important in that aspect for you. But the three things that I think are very important when it comes to creating persona, at least in my case, was color palettes, simplicity, and memorability. So color palettes, while I don't think are necessarily important, I use a very limited color palette for my persona. It only really consists of like 3 important colors and then, different shades of said colors. And that makes it very easy for me to create my thumbnails or quick art of my persona. So while not required, it's a very nice thing to have, so I don't have to worry about too many colors. And I think it also associates, specific colors with my channel. So it's just a mix of pink, green, and yellow all over my channel. And yeah. So, since I'm creating most of these thumbnails last minute because I procrastinate a lot on my schedule when it comes to these videos, being able to make the character really quickly is important, which is why I think simplicity also plays a role in personas, because, while I don't think your persona needs to be like very, very, very simple, and of course, detail your persona as much as you want, I think it's nice to have a more simplified version where you keep the main components available, because it is important to, highlight the main characteristics and then keep that in a character. For example, the creature, right? its, I think, main characteristics that I know people recognize the most is like the eyeball, and then like the eye earrings, and of course the color palette, and that itself is very simple. So, And I also think if you're animating this character especially, which was the case for me originally, where I was animating a lot with the creature, just like funny little blips for TikTok, and I have a couple of those re-uploaded on my other channel. If it was any other design where it was more complex, I don't think I would have been able to animate as many things as I could with the creature, because my persona was just simple like that. And I think that is also like apparent in my art style, that I keep things very simplified. And my last thing that I think is really, really important when it comes to thinking about creating a persona is memorability. And I talked about this a little bit because it is in the same vein as like recognizability, but memorability I think is really important because of, the main features in the creature. And while it's not anything revolutionary by any means, I think the design itself is very simple and not exactly innovative. It's still easy for people to spot out. And even those that I've barely interacted with, or only interact with very minimally, or, people I know IRL who have only seen me sketch this character on the backs of my paper, are able to go, hey, that's your channel. Is this your channel? And while that is very embarrassing for me, I think it just kind of shows the importance of having some form of memorability, or having some aspects of the design be easier to spot out. Because then people can go, oh, hey, look, blank has posted. Now I can just run on over to see what they're posting about. So, yeah. It's also a little bit fun to just kind of talk about my past persona designs, and I'll probably be flashing all of these on screen. But while I do think I kept a lot of these components and rules in those personas, none of them effectively stuck in a way that was long-standing, because I think an issue with a lot of these is they're very dated in a sense that you can really tell what time period they're from. And I think a part of that is also applicable because of the art style that I was using at those times. But I think another thing was that personally they were just too much like me, in the sense that they were very humanoid, and it was a little bit awkward and also very difficult to draw, so I wasn't really using them as personas per se. And by the time I moved over to starting to use the creature as a persona, I realized I liked it a lot more, because while it can be a separate entity from me, because it does not look like me at all, there's still some aspects that I can connect to with my actual appearance that I can go, hey, maybe that was kind of similar to me in some aspects. So it can be a completely separate thing while still being connected. So I thought that was nice. And also, ironically enough, it's also just a really cute encapsulation of how I feel about myself in many ways, because I kind of feel alien and non-human in many ways. So it's like, haha, look, alien. That's Mer, guys. So, yeah. Again, this is not a one-size-fit-all situation, and your persona is what you make of it. And I don't think there are any rule books or direct guidelines for making a persona at all. And I think it's even better when you put a lot of the things you love into your persona design. So be creative, I guess, and put a lot of love into your persona design, because I feel like even though I didn't initially create the creature as something to represent myself, because of all of the love that I've kind of put into drawing that character and the creature itself, it's kind of embedded itself into me in a positive way. So yeah, that's all. Bye.